Hey friend, welcome back to the Vision Driven Health Podcast, your go-to place for how to create healthy habits that last in partnership with God. Today's episode is a prime example of how we can pair our healthy physical habits with spiritual ones. My hope and intention for you today is that by the end of this episode, you can't wait for the next moment to get outside and go for a walk with Jesus. We are getting into the nitty-gritty detailed benefits of walking. Like seriously, you have no idea how good walking is for you yet. And I'm offering you a friendly reminder of the access we have to Jesus at any given time and how walking can actually help keep you more focused in your time with Him. Super exciting, right? I know. Get those walking shoes ready. We're getting started. Do you find yourself struggling to consistently implement healthy habits? Do you lack energy, confidence, and motivation because of stress, overwhelm, and shame for having not gotten it together by now? Friend, there is hope and grace for your health. Hey, I'm Robin Ryan McDonald, host of the Vision Driven Health Podcast. I'm a follower of Jesus, a wife, a mama of two, and a seminarian turned health coach. And I'm so excited that you're here. I found myself in my early 20s captive to cravings and convenience. 20 pounds heavier, super tired, with a face full of acne. I could not figure out how to maintain healthy habits until I discovered the power of aligning my choices with God's vision. 10 years and 2 kids later, by the grace of God, I'm still prioritizing my health and feeling amazing. If you are over quick fixes and are ready to feel good in your own skin, then grab a giant water bottle and let's dive on in. As a reminder, the Vision Driven Health Podcast is under the umbrella of Naval Health Incorporated. The content on this podcast is for informational and educational purposes only. It is not intended for medical advice. It does not take the place of medical advice or treatment from a physician. Listeners should consult their own doctor or a qualified healthcare professional for specific health concerns and questions. I often get messages and requests for simple, easy protein-packed recipes. It's literally one of the number one asks that I hear. And honestly, it's a great request because with all the business of life and juggling all the things, it is extremely helpful to have simple, easy options for home-cooked, healthy meals. And if you've been following me for any length of time, you know how much I emphasize the importance of getting in enough protein. So, I give to you for absolutely no cost at all the 20 and 20 recipe guide. This has 20 recipes that take only 20 minutes of effort to put together. And each recipe provides portions that hit 30 grams of protein. Amen, right? And here's the thing. Who hates going to a recipe page and having to fight all the ads and all the details about how their day was when they're preparing this meal as you scroll all the way down to the actual recipe? I know I do. So to make things extra convenient for you, we've pulled the ingredients and instructions from the pages and put them within the guide for easy reference. You can print these out, make notes, whatever you want. So grab this awesome resource at visiondrivenhealth.com/resources. Can I just say, as a former avid CrossFitter doing an episode where I'm hyping up walking, this is kind of ironic. However, I will say walking has become a much more common and prevalent form of exercise for me because the last year I struggled with a lot of back issues. Thankfully, I've discovered what was behind all of that. I forget which episode I talked about that on, but feel free to ask me about it. But with that said, I'm a big fan of walking. And as much as I long to get back to my CrossFit former glory, it's just not my season for that. And I am serious when I say that walking is incredible for your well-being. I still wholeheartedly believe resistance training of some sort is a must, and it's something I still incorporate into my weekly routine as much as I can. It's just not CrossFit status, that's for sure. Now, before I dive into the benefits of walking, I want to paint the bleak picture of why it's so revolutionary in our modern world. We all know that sitting around isn't probably good for us. What I don't think we stop and consider is how much more active life was even just a half century ago. The increase of screens and devices is taking a massive toll on the health of our society. A sedentary lifestyle not only contributes to obesity, type 2 diabetes, cancer, cardiovascular disease, and even early death, but it is detrimental to our mental health as well. The more sedentary we are, the more we undermine our metabolism, which in turn impacts our blood sugar levels and blood pressure. But the crazy thing is, the data showing this applies to those who go to the gym regularly, which you might be like, well, wait a second, Robin, if I'm going to the gym regularly, how's that even possible? But that's because it's not just about doing a workout. It's a matter of how much you move throughout the day. And this is called NEAT, all capital letters, NEAT, an acronym for non-exercise activity thermogenesis, a fancy way of saying the calories we burn when we're not intentionally doing a workout. This is a big part of why walking is a great strategy for healthy weight loss. But we'll get into that more in just a moment. So when I say walking, I'm not just talking about going out intentionally for a walk. I'm also talking about being a more active, walky person in general. And some ways you can do this is by parking further away from the store. You get extra steps in that way. With my kids, I think I still usually try to park a little bit closer, but if we park farther away, even though maybe you've got a kid in each arm or whatnot, but those are extra steps. If there's the option to take the stairs or the elevator, take the stairs. Set an alarm in your phone to get up every 30 to 60 minutes. This actually will help you to focus more if you're working at a desk job. It might sound counterproductive, but I'm telling you, getting up, getting your blood flowing, obviously it has all the benefits I will talk more about in this episode, but it also does help to create a reset for your brain to focus better and even come up with new ideas. You can start a garden, which I'm in the full-fledged moment of right now. We're in year 2, phase 2 of gardening. Last year was cool, it was fun. Did not get a big yield. This year, I totally lost my timeline and did not plant my seeds. I ended up buying all of my little starts, and I'm already afraid that I'm killing them because Ryan's finishing up the garden beds. Well, we had garden beds, but he's making some super sweet adjustments to them, creating a more permanent framing. In California, we have to do raised garden beds, and we have to do then have posts coming out of it that have either netting or hardware cloth around it because we have all kinds of little critters that either come up from under the ground or come into it. I hear in other states you can just plant stuff straight into the ground if you have good soil, which sounds revolutionary. Anyways, if you start a garden, it keeps you active because you got to get out there, you got to water the plants, you got to weed things and reach in and move around. That was a very long segue to tell you about my garden. Thanks for listening. If you talk a lot on the phone, you can put in headphones and walk around while you're talking. That actually also helps with your focus. You can get rid of your TV, which I know sounds crazy, but seriously, we've been watching a little bit more TV recently, but that's because The Chosen Season 5 just came out in theaters and we're preparing by watching all of Season 4, even though we'd already seen Season 4, but we wanted to watch it again so that it was fresh in our minds before Season 5 came out, which, by the way, fun little fact about me, other than the fact that I'm super obsessed with The Chosen. If you haven't seen that show, highly recommend it. If you are listening to this the week of April 6th, I highly recommend that you go in theaters and watch Season 5. I digress. Sorry, fun fact is, I am you can see me in Season 5, Episode 1, when Jesus is delivering the sermon about the wheat that falls and dies on the temple steps. Anyways, another sidebar for you there. But getting rid of your TV, because if you, at the end of your day, which I know we're usually tired at the end of the day, but if you just kind of sit and plant yourself in front of the TV, when you could get a late workout in at night, you could go for a walk at night. Ryan and I, we actually did live with my mom for a little bit, so this isn't an option everybody has if you have kids, but my mom would already be at home and going to bed or whatever, or just hanging out. Our boys would be asleep, and so we would just go for a night walk around the neighborhood. Obviously, I felt safe because Ryan was with me. Also, I think in other states it's less concerning and weird to go out at night and you don't even think about being unsafe. But again, I guess Southern California, it's something you think about. You guys are learning a lot about me in these tips I'm giving you today. All right. So we know how detrimental it can be to not be active or walk. Here's why walking specifically is so good for you. So if you're someone who's motivated by hearing, this is really problematic, stay away, that was what I just gave you. If you're someone who likes to know, this is so good for you and here's all the reasons why, and that motivates you, let me tell you. Number one, walking counteracts the effects of weight-promoting genes. So it doesn't only help you lose weight, it combats weight-promoting genes. A recent study showed that participants who walked briskly for an hour a day cut the risks of those genes in half. So if you have a genetic predisposition to gain weight, most people in your family are overweight, most people struggle with their weight, you decide, you know what, it's an hour, it's a decent amount of time, it's quite a bit of time, but you decide, hey, I'm going to walk briskly for an hour every day, you cut those risks in half. That's very significant. I think that is worth cutting that hour into a 30-minute walk in the morning, 30-minute walk at night. And honestly, again, the health benefits, the time that you can have speaking with the Lord, it is so worth it. Number two, walking helps manage your blood sugar levels. It does this in a couple of ways. One, if you end up having a more indulgent meal, which, hey, we all do, something sweet or maybe super heavy, you can go for a 10 to 15 minute walk and actually support your body in managing the blood sugar spike that usually, often most surely, follows eating that way. It requires your body to use some of that blood sugar for your muscles that you're using to walk. Additionally, walking can help reduce cravings for sugar. Research shows that even a 15-minute walk can reduce cravings for chocolate or even the amount of chocolate that you eat, particularly in stressful situations. So if you're feeling stressed, all you want to do is open up the tub of chocolate ice cream or dig into your chocolate candies or whatever it is. You can go for a 15-minute walk and you will biologically be less inclined to go for those treats. This would make sense also because walking is a great stress regulator. So not only are you reducing cravings, but you're actually healthily managing the stress. Number three, walking reduces the risk of developing breast cancer. It certainly helps reduce the risk of many diseases, but I found this particularly interesting. Research showed that women who walked 7 or more hours a week had a 14% lower risk than women who walked 3 hours or fewer per week. And I'd honestly be curious what the decrease was for that 3 hours per week group as well. Because it's like, hey, if you can only get 3 hours, how much did that, lower your risk? The research said that walking offered protection from breast cancer even to women who had other risk factors for breast cancer, like being overweight or using supplemental hormones. So super fascinating. Again, that one was also based on, so it said women who walk 7 or more hours a week. So you break that up, that's an hour a day. So we've got a lot of reason to try to get an hour of walking in a day. I'm actually feeling really motivated myself as I'm telling you guys this. I'm like, I think I'll try and get out for an hour walk tomorrow. Number 4, walking eases joint pain. Now, this might sound counterintuitive, but the more we move, the more we can prevent arthritis from forming in the first place, but also supporting the areas that supporting the areas that do have arthritis by lubricating the joints and strengthening the muscles around them. Walking is the most basic movement we do, but it is also one of the only movements where we swing our arms and legs in that particular way that gives that full range of motion. Even when we run or do other things, those specific joints, like our arms and our legs, are not getting that same full motion. And it actually creates the opportunity for our body and our limbs to move in a more natural and necessary way than we otherwise would by being sedentary. It's kind of like literally stepping into God's design. And lastly, for the sake of today's podcast, number 5, walking boosts your immune function. A recent study showed that those who walk at least 20 minutes a day, okay, so we're down to 20 minutes a day, we'll see what the benefit is here, at least 5 days a week had 43% fewer sick days than those who exercised once a week or less. Now that is super significant, and that is only 20 minutes a day. So if you can start somewhere, I would say start with 10 minutes, build up to 15, get to that 20. And hey, if you can get up to that hour, amazing. But the most important part of today's conversation is actually how walking with Jesus can make all the difference in your life and health journey. So can we first just acknowledge how much walking Jesus did? We are called to model him, right? And he walked 240 miles during his public ministry. And on top of that, and that's just documented. That's what we know from documented. And on top of that, 3.5 miles were on the water. That's, assuming he started from the shore and then walked in and walked back out, but that's pretty legit. Jesus is literally the ultimate walker. So what does it look like to walk with Jesus? I think most of us understand that in the metaphorical sense of giving our lives to him and choosing to go through life with God, yeah, we're walking, quote unquote, with Jesus. But let's just make that even more tangible. What if you made it a hack or a mental note that when you get up to go for a walk, to increase more of that daily movement, to improve your immune system, to reduce your genes that promote weight gain, all these different things, but that it was a time of prayer and communion with Jesus? What if one of your walks a day, if you're doing more than one, was specifically set for praying and listening to the Lord? I do try to get out and walk each day. There's times when I only get a 10-minute walk in. Sometimes I'm counting on that, just moving throughout the day, chasing my kids around as my movement. But I really try to thank Jesus for the day. I love getting out in the morning. This does not happen as often. In an ideal world, I would love to get up before my kids. It's hard to get up before my husband. He's a go-getter. But to just go outside with that early morning sun and just praise the Lord for his goodness. And walking really is such a wonderful time for gratitude, to take time outside in prayer and gratitude, and to walk is arguably one of the most impactful, healthy things you can do for your body. And I'll just say too, when you're doing that walking outside, which I know depending on the time of year and where you live, that's less of an option. I know I talked about, hey, you know what, I get concerned about my safety. I have to do more challenging garden boxes for living in Southern California. But I will say I can walk year round and I don't have to worry about snow and all of that. But when you are outside, you're getting fresh air. Well, again, Southern California depends on where you're at. Maybe not so fresh, especially if you're in LA, but ideally, hopefully, close to fresh air and vitamin D from sunshine. You're creating life-giving neural pathways through gratitude that minimize stress. You're using your muscles. You're increasing your stamina. You're decreasing your risk of disease. And the best part, if you're praying and talking with the Lord as well, you're strengthening your connection with God. You're improving your ability to hear him. You're doing what we're made for. When we see the Garden of Eden, that's what it was. They were walking with God in the cool of the day. And you can find your own rhythm with it. I actually have really enjoyed looking like a crazy person and speaking my prayers out loud when I go for a walk. It's just more real and tangible for me. You can put some earbuds in and make it look like you're on the phone. But truth is, whether it looks like you're on the phone or not, you are in a very real, very important conversation when you're praying and talking to the Lord. Maybe you pray in your head. Great. Maybe you want to pray in tongues. Awesome. My husband tries to make a habit of praying in tongues on his daily walks. Or perhaps you want to remain silent and listen for God's direction on something you're facing. Maybe even more important than any of those ones I just said. The blood is flowing when you're talking and walking. It's a great time to ponder, to think, and wait on the Lord. Ephesians 2:10 says, "For we are his workmanship, created in Christ Jesus for good works, which God prepared beforehand that we should walk in them." I love this verse as a basis for healthy living. We are created for good works, and we need to walk it out. And walking it out often requires that we care for our physical well-being in order to actually have the physical capability to do it. And it's even better that it says we should walk in them. So friend, I hope today has inspired you to get out and walk, to move more throughout the day, and to set your gaze on Jesus as you do it. Bless you, and I'll talk to you next time. Thank you so much for listening to the Vision Driven Health Podcast today. I hope this episode inspired you, supported you, and blessed you in some way. If it did, it would mean the world if you would leave a 5-star written review on Apple Podcast and share this episode on your social media. The more reviews and shares this gets, the more people can be blessed and encouraged in creating a Jesus-centered, sustainable, healthy lifestyle. If you want to hang with me and other Jesus-loving ladies who are creating healthy habits that last, be sure to join my free Facebook group, the Made Well Mastermind. Use the link in the show notes to join. Be blessed with hope, joy, and health. I'll see you next week. Again, the Vision Driven Health Podcast is under the umbrella of Made Well Health Incorporated. The content on this podcast is for informational and educational purposes only. It is not intended for medical advice. It does not take the place of medical advice or treatment from a physician. Listeners should consult their own doctor or a qualified healthcare professional for specific health concerns and questions.